Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, guys. Sorry I pronounced that horrible, I'm still learning how to pronounce it. Today's gonna be a bit of a longer episode, and even then I won't get through everything, but it is why shirk is the ultimate sin. So for context, I have a hobby where I like to write down my thoughts and philosophies, and one day inshallah I will publish them. And as you could tell, I'm just throwing up on paper, I'm not even editing it yet. And I couldn't think of a podcast idea, so what better than what I wrote yesterday? And this is me throwing up on paper, and I'm gonna go through it all. And I'm sorry for the spelling errors, and I'll explain it more. So now let's get started. So why is shirk bad? Why are other sins lesser, some ask? Well, for starters, even though shirk is the worst, other sins, theft, oppression, murder, are still bad. The question remains, why can a person commit heinous sins, but if he doesn't do shirk, he'll go to heaven eventually? Take a dictator. He killed millions of people, did things to women, sent people to labor camps, but he worshipped Allah. The other is a kind man, gave to charity, treated people with kindness, but knowingly, and I put a clear emphasis with a conscious mind, worshipped idols and goes to hells. Sure, shirk may be bad, but why is it eternal? So what I'm saying is, you hear stories, as long as you have faith, he killed you've heard stories like these, he killed 18 billion people, he set fire to the whole world, but he believed in Allah and he went to hell. Meanwhile, someone like Abi Talib, who did lots of good things, lots of good deeds for Islam, like, he really helped carry Islam, who didn't accept Allah, is in hell. Like, that's a question people ask. Is like, and we agree shirk is bad, but why is the consequence for it eternal? Sure, maybe some time in hell, like with every other sin, but why is shirk the only one that will lead for eternal hell? And I put emphasis on knowingly with a conscious mind, because I'll get to that later. Now, big questions people are afraid to ask, and some have actually asked this, so if anyone sees this and gets mad, don't get mad at me. Others have asked this and have hinted at it. Is this just divine ego? Is Allah fine with sins against creation and us not worshipping Him? And to be honest, the way it frames surface level feels as if it is divine ego. However, here is the thing. Those with unrepented major sins, especially those who have others, will have time to do in hell, so they will be punished. However, the question is, why is the tyrant will eventually be let out after a trillion Googleplex years, and the shirk person won't? Why? Well, it's tied to Allah's mercy. So I'm needed to divide this better. So essentially, I've seen people on the internet ask, is this just divine ego? Like, they're like, is Allah like, just like, I don't care what you do to creation, sure you'll spend some time in hell, but you're still good. But if you make me mad, then you're just going down for eternity. Like, that's what people are asking. And the way it's framed, I decided to look at this from the mind of someone who wasn't Muslim. And the way it's framed, I could see that as it just being divine ego. Like, I could see why they're saying that. And I argue that although that those that do major sins aren't just going to heaven, it's not like you can go commit the most heinous sins known to man, kill a bunch of people, bomb a bunch of cities, abuse a bunch of animals, kill baby animals, and then just go straight to heaven. No, you're gonna do some time in hell. A number of years so large that we can't even think of it. That's how long you could be there for, like billions, trillions of years, are numbers so large that we can't even comprehend it. But the question is, eventually he'll be purified and let out. Meanwhile, the shirk person will remain. So the tyrant could be in hell for 1,000,000 years, but then he's let out and now he's good. Meanwhile, the one who did shirk is there for eternity. 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. Eternity's always just beginning. That's the thing I want to point about eternity. Is even after 10 trillion years, it's still begun. After a Googleplex years, it's just begun. After a dectillion years, it's just begun. And yes, these numbers are saying are real numbers. I don't know the order of how big they are because I can't be bothered. Well, now comes my third paragraph. Well, the one I divided. Well, it's tied to Allah's mercy. Not even the prophets, peace be upon them all, can be led into heaven without Allah's mercy. So the good person may be a good person, but is he that flawless where he doesn't need Allah's mercy? Is he on the level of a prophet? No. And the tyrant is clearly not on that level. Now, sins will get you time in hell, as in the afterlife, time is finite. Here, if someone gives you 5 minutes of their time, years of their life especially, it's the biggest sacrifice. However, in the afterlife, time is infinite. It is like air. 500 billion years is nothing. Every crime has a point where the sin is made up. So the tyrant eventually serves his long sentence and is clean of his sins. He is essentially born again, connected to Allah's mercy, so he can be let in. Shirk cuts you off with Allah's mercy, and without Allah's mercy, heaven is inaccessible, so you have nothing to help you. That being said, in addition, the tyrant will be in the lower levels of paradise, not in the seventh heaven. So let's explain that more. So, essentially, no one is led into heaven through deeds alone and avoiding sins, not even the Prophet ﷺ. So essentially the question is, why do good deeds? Well, good deeds will carry you partway to heaven, and then Allah's mercy will take you there. So it's like, let's say there's a ladder that's 10 steps. You can climb up 5 steps through deeds alone, and then Allah's mercy will pull you the rest of the way up. So doing good deeds does matter, but ultimately you need Allah's mercy to pull you the way up, because no one else, our good deeds are just bonuses, but Allah's mercy is really where it's at, and good deeds and stuff help us unlock Allah's mercy. And the person who does shirk, the person who does shirk, he does good deeds. There's no denying it. He's done a lot of good stuff. But can you say he's on the level of a prophet? Is he that good of a person where he doesn't need Allah's mercy to get into heaven? Do you think he's on the level of a prophet? If a prophet needs Allah's mercy to get into heaven, and this good person needs Allah's mercy, there's no way a person could be on the same level of righteousness as a prophet. So is he really not needed of Allah's mercy? No. And as I said, the tyrant does obviously not. Now, essentially, to categorize this better, sins will give you time in hell. No one knows how much time a bad person will do in hell. The tyrant, who knows how much time? But it's like a scoreboard. Remember on the justice system, murder, you get 25 years. Theft, you get 1 year, etc. That's how it is in the afterlife. But the thing is, time is infinite, so we don't have to worry about, is he losing time of his life? Because no, time is infinite. Each murder can give you 1,000,000 years. You've still got time. It's not going to be fun, it's going to be horrible, but you still got time. And eventually, the sin will be purified. Every sin, no matter how big, has time in hell where it will be made up. And eventually, the tyrant will have all his sins made up and he'll be born again. So let's say, just to keep it simple, all his sins get him 10 million years in hell. Well, now he's burned of his sins. All his sins have been burned away. The rights of the victims have been settled. Now all he has is Allah's mercy to take him. And that being said, it's not like he's going to go to high heaven. It's not like this tyrant who did hideous things is going to go to high heavens. He's still going to be in the lower level of paradise. And that's a different subject I want to talk about, where Muslims say, well, I'll still go to heaven, so it's fine to sin, even though you're missing out on the higher levels. That's a different subject for another time that I wish to talk about. Now the question is Allah doing quote unquote injustice, or the person? See, actually getting the sin of shirk requires conscious rejecting of it. If someone is on an island or lives in the West or heard broad stuff for Islam, they go to the Kaaba, read the Quran, but has no real understanding, get a bad message, as we've seen in the media, etc., then they are not among those sinful. So the question is, now you know the truth, so why reject it? A prime example is Abi Talib. He helped defend the Prophet ﷺ, sheltered Muslims, did many good deeds, and helped fight Islam's enemies. Despite this, he is in hell. Why? Well, he didn't believe in Allah. Now, he was a good person, but nowhere near the level of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as I mentioned before, needed Allah's mercy. So what about someone like Abi Talib? That being said, he is in a light version of hell. Someone like Pharaoh is in a much extreme hell. In an ideal world where no one did shirk, we have true justice. That the bad people spend their time in hell, then are purified, and we're all inhabitants of paradise. But rather, we screw ourselves over. So now let's get into details. So as I mentioned before, a lot of people say, yeah, it's unfair you did shirk, but it's eternal hell. But Allah's telling you, all you have to do is not do shirk, and you'll be good. Like, you'll be good to enter paradise eventually. So the question is, like, why are you so stubborn? For example, let's say you get kicked out of the house and the person says, all you have to do is apologize for eating my food and I'll let you in. It's like, why are you so stubborn? And there are debates if people in the West, like in Europe, Britain, or America, are among those who never heard of Islam. But the thing is, I don't think it's in room for us to debate who's in, who's isn't, because with something like faith, that's between the person and Allah. We can see someone go to the mosque 5 times every day, pray, but behind closed doors he could be praying to a statue of Moloch. Meanwhile, somebody who doesn't really pray, doesn't do good deeds, could still have Tawheed. But the question is, ultimately there are some people who never received the proper message of Islam. Who those people are, we don't know. Every one of those people is case by case. And can we really go through every single person in history? All we could hope is that those who died that aren't Muslims are among those who didn't hear the message of Islam. So that goes more into Allah being just. He's not going to be like, I don't care the circumstances, you didn't worship me, you go to hell. Like, no, he's going to give you a fair chance. That's the thing, because a lot of people say some people don't get a fair chance, but here I'm telling you that Allah will give you a fair chance. And then it comes to the questions like, if you know the truth, why do you reject it? Like, if I tell you the sky is blue, you're going to believe me because you know it to be true, you see it. And then when you see clear proof that Allah is the only God, was the one true God, why are you still rejecting it? Like, it makes no sense. Like, you just want to bash your head against the wall. And then they use an example of Abi Talib. And now I said something, he's a light version of hell. Now let me explain to you something. Hell is still hell. Like, a lot of people go like, oh, I'll be in light version of hell, that's fine. But nothing on this earth compares to the light version of hell. Would you be fine going to a labor camp? Would you be fine being tied out on a cactus in the sun for 3 days? You'd say no, you'd be crazy. The lightest version of hell is far worse. That being said, though, it's not like everybody who does shirk is going to be in the same category. A tyrant, your next door neighbor, Pharaoh. No, there's levels to this stuff. And the Pharaoh, Abu Lahab, Nimrod, they're in worse levels than Abi Talib, but ultimately all in hell. And what I'm saying is, in an ideal world, nobody would do shirk. The bad people would do their time in hell and be released. And we'd all be inhabitants of paradise. It would be great, wonderful. Or even in a more ideal world, no one would do major sins like oppression, and we all wouldn't even have to spend some time in hell. So the question is it really Allah or us who are doing injustice to ourselves? Now, next comes the rejection of the fundamental truth. We worship Allah so that He may be pleased with our deeds and admit us to paradise. Now, those who call upon other false gods are putting them on the level of Allah, but can they help us on Judgment Day? Let's say a man worships a statue. When Judgment Day begins, will the statue be of any help? Some say, well, the Prophet ﷺ, our family, will help us. And it's true. However, will they help us on the level of Allah? Somebody, as Muhammad ﷺ, only intercedes for us. Allah is the one who can throw us all into Al-Hawaya and likewise take Iblis to Al-Firdaus. Can anyone else do that? So are you putting a statue on Allah's level? They will not be able to help you. So here what I'm saying is, it's like, next, we worship Allah so that He may be pleased with us and admit us to paradise. We do good deeds so that He may be pleased with us and admit us to paradise. And the question is, when you talk now, what I'm saying is, nobody has that level of power. as Allah. Sure, your family members, Muhammad ﷺ, may intercede and help you, but what I'm saying is ultimately Allah has the power. If He wanted to right now, He could take all of us and put us into Al-Hawaii if He wanted to. If He wanted to, He could take the most evil tyrants of history and put them in Al-Firdaus. Allah can do anything. The question is, He's not going to. But what I'm saying is, if you start worshipping other beings, you're putting them on that same level of Allah. It's like, Muhammad ﷺ can only intercede. He ﷺ can't throw people into hell or put people into heaven. The Prophet ﷺ, or your friends and family, can only intercede and try to help you. But it is ultimately Allah who decides, and Allah is the one who could throw you into heaven or hell. And then I'm saying, in addition to calling on these false idols, will they be able to have that same level? So like, if you go call upon an idol, when Judgment Day begins and everyone's panicking, will that idol come to you and be like, yo, G, I got your back. Here's a back door to head into paradise. No, that's not going to happen. So it's like, why are you giving that status to another being where it should only belong to Allah? And that's just a start. We could get into it. I plan to make a podcast on Allah's nature. There's so much stuff, but this is something I'm proud of, and I really hope Allah is pleased with it. Jazakallahu khair.